He was playing that Draven. At that time, I never played Draven. And he played Draven, and after he played Draven, I just wanted to play Draven. And in the end, I just became a one-trick Draven.
Once again! Mickey lands the binding. HunSummer gets his third kill of the game. And there's Caps!
He's dead.
He is gone. Now Misfits just say, okay, the fight continues. HunSummer exhausted. Caps still alive.
He's dead.
No, he's not. He gets clapped with an axe in the back.
Yeah, I think I got the name for a really good Draven.
Welcome back to the ULCS studio for Misfits versus Splyce. The Misfits lineup was on fire last week. So I could watch HunSummer play Draven all day. This man is a machine.
He's a beast in the AD carry position. When he's playing those marksmen, I love to see it. That stat line is no joke. A 34 KDA is obscene.
Yet to die yet in the European LCS Summer Split. His damage percentage is crazy. His damage numbers are crazy. Yes, you could make the argument that he did have a bit of a free time last week, but we don't want to simplify it down to that, because you look at his positioning in team fights, you look at the contribution that this man brings to the Misfits squad, and it's difficult to say that this man has not been performing out of his mind.
Misfits across the board appear to be doing well, though. So what else is going so right for Misfits right now that makes them look like potentially a contender for #1 in Europe?
They're just popping off in the early game. They're shutting teams down and just putting them out of the game so early on. Across the board, it's looked fantastic for them. I think Senkux has stepped up in the mid lane, Maxlore too. It's all looked good.
So I think, for me, there were two big issues with Misfits last split. Number one was that Senkux was not in a meta that was built for him. And number two, Mickey was very reliant on playmaking champions. When you kind of put him on something that was a little more neutral, he couldn't have as much success. You know, in a meta where not only does Senkux get comfort champions where he can play pretty much anything that he wants, but Mickey has huge playmakers pretty much all the time, and even some comfort picks like the Gragas as well. When you combine these with the fact that HunSummer, Maxlore, and Alphari have already been playing well in terms of their early game performances, this team is just kind of in a perfect meta where all of the pieces are able to shine.
One of those pieces right now appears to be Maxlore. Now, we've heard rumors that he's a good shot caller, that he's the strong leader. We wanted to confirm that, so we took a look at what the calls were and some of those high-pressure situations for Misfits. And for some exclusive insight on Misfits' success, we are going to take a look at their team comms against that level 1 versus Fnatic last week.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we're going to that red level 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to ward your red late?
No, I'm warding now.
I can ward? Okay, it's fine.
Fine, it's whatever, it's really fine. You just save yours for just in case Kai'Sa roams, and I want you to keep pressuring, if you can.
I guess I can actually just move for you guys.
That's fine, yeah. 123 we go.
Alright. I'll start Q if we fight.
Yeah, I'll start E if we fight.
With 120?
123. I mean, we can go now. Come.
Look! Q.
Can we get a ward?
We can still go. Malgana go first.
Yeah.
Wait, play slow. Let them start it. Can we go here? Taric is E, yeah?
Joey got this top.
They're split right now, they're split. IV in 3.
Oh, I'm coming
Nice. Play it slow.
Okay, we don't have binding.
Oh.
They're split up still. I don't think they can finish.
Okay.
I go Kai'Sa, come.
Okay. 2 seconds binding.
Got Diago.
No, it's reset. I need help.
Okay, we'll come
The
and
Taric
cover.
will flash E, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Like this Kai'Sa's giga low. Can we just leash it? IV in 3.
Okay.
They have ward in it.
Okay, just wait. I can go Kai'Sa. Oh, never mind.
Getting
Just
shot.
gonna try to smite it.
Okay. I think this just let it reset. We go on Rakan, just go on Rakan. This is so fucking
do him.
cool.
They might just finish. Oh, they can.
This is fine. Kai'Sa's getting fucking fucked from this. Janna no flash.
I fucked them up.
I'm gonna flank, okay? I'm gonna flank them.
Okay, I look.
Go tired.
Yeah.
I flash.
I try to Q Kai'Sa.
Nice. Go,
Hey,
red. Oh, you got
You
it.
got it.
Yeah,
There's no flash.
that was so
No.
good.
Hey, cover me to what?
I can't
I go around.
Taric no sums.
Yeah, I'll go around as well.
Okay.
Good job.
One, loving the confidence and the leadership there from Maxlore, making the calls. Everyone on the team calling cooldowns, communicating to make that happen. Shame that Bwipo stole away the red buff. Also, one word appeared in that clip a little more than any other word. I think we're noticing a little bit of the pro player vocabulary.
It was Kai'Sa.
Their goal was to shut her down, and they felt pretty confident about their ability to do it. But credit to Maxlore, because one of the big things Misfits said last year when they brought this guy in was he's supposed to be a vocal member of the team. He's going to be a new leader. And over the course of Misfits history, he has been developing as an individual, and right now we get to see the growth that this guy has made, and he is quite that leader for the team.
Want to see if he can continue to step up, because on the opposite side, we do have Splyce, their competition. Now, they lost both their games last week. Honestly, it looked like a pretty abysmal start. What specifically went wrong here? What has been the problem with Splyce's games thus far?
It's kind of the meta, isn't it, Ender?
It's kind of the meta. I think, for me, two of their best performers in the spring split were Xerxes and Kobbe. Both those roles were nerfed during the midseason to have a lessened impact on the overall game. So you see Xerxes a little bit out of his comfort zone. Kobbe can't necessarily play these same carries that he was doing so well on in the spring split.
Yeah, and I just think that while Splyce made a lot of growth as a team last split, when you come into a brand new meta, it's almost like they have to reset from scratch. They've got to relearn the way in which they play the game. They have to understand what champions are strong right now. We heard from Nisqy where he said it's pretty much about what cheese is available and which team can best utilize it. And I think that when you have a lot of veterans on a lineup, it's just a matter of taking a little bit more time to figure out what is strong and what is weak. And hopefully, coming into this week, Splyce will have been able to adapt, as Nisqy was quite confident they were able to do.
And Nisqy's the other thing I really want to hit, because Nisqy has been a star performer for this team when he struggled last season, and it's surprising to see two of the guys we expected from last season step up, start to falter. Yes, a little bit of that is the meta, but Nisqy has kept that playoff performance, and I think that is the one big strength that Splyce seemed to have.
Yeah,
right
he's been riding off that high from the semifinals matchup, the third place matchup as well. He looks very talented in the 1v1 in lane, which is something we didn't necessarily say about him in the spring split. And to see that shift for Splyce, I think is very good for them in the long term. Once everyone else steps up to the task, Nisqy, he's a solid foundation to build around.
I completely agree, and that's why we were so excited about Splyce coming into the split, because if you maintain that performance, then Splyce were going to be a big contender for one of those top spots in Europe. They already secured third place. They know they're going to Rift Rivals, and with it only being a short time away, Nisqy will be one of the players that'll be looking to stomp his authority on North America.
It's very true, and of course we have to remember, it's not just about Splyce right now, it's also about Europe. Splyce, you got to do us proud, you got to step it up. So Splyce are looking to bounce back, but they're going to face a tough challenge against the Rising Misfits. Quick shot. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dracos. Let's take a look whether or not Splyce can bounce back against Misfits, who are looking fantastic. And of course, to you astute viewers, you'll have noticed that our cameraman and our director just can't get enough of this jacket. They keep putting it on nice and early, Foxtrot.
Really?
Yeah. You didn't even see it. I had to wave. I know you were looking at the analyst desk, catching up. So listen.
It's a nice jacket, though.
It is an awesome jacket. Misfits taking on Splyce. There's a couple of British fellas in this game. We had a pretty serious discussion backstage. Does Alphari, where does he
that's a tough one.
Like, Welsh blokes are not the same as English lads.
He is Welsh, so that it is a bit of a question mark right there. It's not 100%. It's like, is Bwipo now an AD carry?
Yeah, I get that.
Is he now a bot lane player? I'm not convinced, but either way, we've got.
Look, we can't hold it against him, okay?
Yes, it's not his fault that he was born to an inferior country.
Exactly.
Bordering, yes.
Sorry, Wales. Let's get back to picks and bans as the first round of Yasuo, Nocturne, and Vladimir have been taken off the table by Misfits Gaming. Splyce have responded with the Taliyah and the Ezreal. They have one ban left, and this is going to be an uphill battle for Splyce. 0-2 to 2-0. Last week, Misfits looked phenomenal.
Very good, and they looked very good with more traditional team comps. At least in that bot lane, they had those AD carries there, and I was going to say, maybe they want to put another ban onto an AD carry, because the Draven we saw at Hansan was absolutely phenomenal, and he's very good on that champion, and if he pops off on that, I mean, bloody hell, just get rid of it.
If I recall correctly, it was 16-0-18, or it was 18-0-16, but either way, 34 KDA.
Yeah.
He just smashed, he took over the game, and that's why it's on the ban list. It's not often you see an Ezreal and a Draven banned out on 8.12.
And what's great about the ban phase on 8.12, or basically in the summer split so far, is that anything that you pick early on in the draft is essentially a flex pick.
Yeah.
Even this Camille could be a flex pick into the jungle. It could also be top lane. It could go anywhere, basically. Honestly, it could go literally anywhere. So I would be surprised to see if that is a blind Diana pick. I would not.
It's not. Xerxes hovers a Diana every single game. It's his favorite champion in solo queue.
Right.
And, we'll get used to that. You'll see it a lot.
Fair enough.
In the same way that Kasing will hover Zillion every single game. He actually has picked it several times. But for me, for Xerxes, I was not impressed with his Nocturne performance last week. He was invisible. He really did not have any impact on the game. There was a couple of paranoias that admittedly the team was very far behind, so he couldn't follow through after starting the ultimate.
Yes.
So I want to see a better performance from him specifically to try and shore up some of these weaknesses that Splyce have in the early game.
I think it's absolutely fair to say that. I mean, Xerxes was really, really good. He set a precedent on himself in that spring split, and he was one of the reasons Splyce was so successful.
Yes.
And he just hasn't lived up to that so far. So absolutely, we should be keeping eyes on him and seeing what he can do. But so far, Misfits have not picked their jungler yet. So it will be unlikely that Splyce would do the same, which means do we then start seeing some more jungle bans, which would hinder the ability for Xerxes to step up, because now his champion pool might be... This is where they pick a jungler, by the way, and completely ruin everything I'm saying. But in theory,
the
that could
possibility. I
happen.
mean, look, to be fair, Maxwell played Camille and Taliyah last week. His Taliyah triple kill that was set up by Senkux, he finished it. Neither of them are available. So the AD carry question has been answered. We anticipate Carbe to run the Heimerdinger. The EU special continues to shine through.
I quite like Heimer into Lucian, actually, specifically. Assuming this is a bot lane Lucian, it very well may not be. But if it is, I think it's pretty good, because Lucian, you kind of want to bully the lane phase a little bit. You kind of want to have that successful lane phase and get the advantage coming out of lane, and it's a bit tricky to do that against a Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger is very good at just being an extremely nothing's happening in this lane style of champion. So.
A controlling lane
yes,
champion.
That,
he dictates the tempo.
Yeah, we're seeing a pipe ban here as well, which saddens me slightly, because I feel this is one of the more fun champions to watch in this patch, but partially why he's fun is because he's quite effective in the right hand, so absolutely deserving of a ban as well.
So what other junglers could Maxwell run? His two are off. I know you were talking about that blind bloke during Ready Check.
Yes,
Lee Sin got some buffs.
He did.
I don't think it's enough yet.
I don't think we'll see Lee Sin's personally. I would not be surprised, honestly, to see a Sejuani coming out in this draft, because we have seen she did get buffed, and she has been played a little bit. Cold played her earlier today. She's been picked up in the LCK as well. So historically speaking, that champion Sejuani has found its way into the LCS and into professional play. Very useful when she is meta, and now it looks like she might be a bit more meta, and you have your carry sorted in that Lucian, in that Aurelia as well. So
I mean, that would give you a really traditional front line, really sort of non-8-12 style draft. Another Juggernaut is in the ban pool. Darius is taken off, so now we're going to get some answers. Camille, is this Odos or is this Xerxes? Now I think it's Odos. Xerxes.
Yes, I would say it's most likely going to be Xerxes, but at the same time, that could still be like a support horn or something like that. Honestly, we've even seen support Camille a little while back as well. Not really expecting that, but in theory, we could also see that one there too. But now we will get that jungle question answered. What will it be from Misfits Gaming? Because there are a lot of different options, honestly, left on the board. Jungle pools aren't too focused down in draft. Obviously, we did see that Taliyah and Nocturne, but I don't think this will be a funnel Braum, you know. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. Gragas. All right, if you want to...
Okay, so the question is then, where does it go? Where do we look at? You've got Braum support,
I think it will just be support.
Gragas jungle, Aurelia mid.
Trundle makes sense as
there
well.
we go, okay, Trundle jungle there.
Misfits of draft, honestly, this draft is a lot more standard than what we're used. This is so standard, we're not expecting it, and then we're kind of overthinking it, you know. I think Misfits have run with these more standard team comps. They've stuck Hans Summer on these AD carries. They've had a lot of success with it so far. Why not keep doing it? And because seeing Hovering the Zillion, like you mentioned before, but I don't think we'll be seeing that. I think it is going to be a jungle and Kayn. All right.
Ooh, Draco's just got really excited. He's played so much Kayn. What I am happy about is I've wanted to see something a bit more unique, a little bit different from Xerxes. It's one of the things that he made a splash for, he made a name for.
He's good on Kayn.
Playing some new junglers and making them meta.
Right, yeah, and Kayn is one of these champions we haven't seen too much of, but if you wanted to see him like be a little bit better as a player, why don't you pick something that's a bit more aggressive? Why don't you pick something that's a bit more carry orientated than anything else? And there's no funnel strategies going on here. There's no kind of jungle's not really a jungler. It's going to be a jungler, and it's going to be the Kayn, and his individual performance will have a huge impact on how this game goes.
So Foxdrop, looking at the two team comps now, as they're going to fly up onto the screens, what do you make of the lanes and the setups? I think Misfits is pretty clear-cut, pretty standard in terms of, you know, try to get Aurelia Lucian ahead, play around the strengths they have in lane. But what about the rest of it? Because we can see now, obviously, Camille has now gone mid into this Aurelia, so that's more of a top lane style matchup. And what do you make of the other lanes?
I honestly really love the mid lane specifically, like you mentioned, Aurelia into Camille. I think that's so fun. Aurelia and Camille as their mid lane, and that's such an easy lane to gank from both sides as well. You just show up to that lane, and huge things could happen in that lane. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we will see specifically in that mid lane.
Yes, exactly. I'll keep my eyes on it as we continue to play out. Conqueror on the side of Senkux on his Irelia. And a lot of pressure on Splyce. They do not want to start the split 0-3 for the squad that managed to take 3rd place in Copenhagen, the 3rd and final team that will represent us here in EULCS for Rift Rivals.
0-3 is roughly 3 more losses and 3 less wins than Splyce would like to have at this stage in this split, if that were to happen.
Next level analysis, my friend.
That's why I'm here, baby.
Next level analysis.
Oh, dear.
All right. Early lane. We've actually seen this a couple of times. Kobbe's just going to use that Evo turret.
And that big brain on his skin to scout out that one right there.
Is this the Mars Attack skin?
Yes. Well, it's the big old brain skin, if that's the Mars Attack skin. I think it is.
Have you seen the film?
It's a bit before my time, but I think I know what you're talking about.
It's a very polite way of saying I'm old, Foxtrot.
Nah,
for anybody
mate.
that has seen it, that I think was very heavily influential in the 50s alien movies, their language, the ack, 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 ack.
Right.
It is a special one, and for maybe the 20 people on the planet that have seen that movie, shout out to you.
My dad is in the audience, and he's probably the only person who knows what you're talking about. So
He's clapping, I'm getting a thumbs up. Shout out to Foxtrop's dad for being the only person in the audience that knows the movie.
not to make you feel even more old or anything like that. While we're insulting you, can I say I love being on the casting desk with you, because standing next to Ender makes me feel rather short, but standing next to you makes me feel really happy about my size.
Well, let's take a look at what this will do for Kasing and Kobbe. They're going to get in trouble. Take a look at the passive here. Lucian and Braum. This is the very old school duo when Braum was released. The synergy between that Light Slinger passive and the double shots plus Braum passive, it synergizes so well. Get the stuns, get the damage down.
I've just realized that that's Kasing on Zori, by the way. That's a Zori support. That hadn't clicked until this moment. You're talking about old school bot lanes. Heimer Zori, were you ever expecting to see that in a professional game? Probably not, but that's what we're seeing today regardless.
Although taking a look at that actually, thinking about the combo, the Sleepy Trouble bubble into some turret damage, and then as that's about to wear off, put a grenade down to stun them.
It's a pretty good combo, and it enables some good ganks. Speaking of ganks.
All right, Senkux manages to get the stun.
Oh, that's not good.
You missed the wall, buddy! The Maul can't dodge your skill shot. Here comes Mickey. He's already flashed forward for the chase. That's a defensive flash from Xerxes. Gonna get run down in Kayn. Takes down a lot of damage, down to 300. The Misfits, they cannot get on top of Splyce yet. Here comes Kasing, landing on the wall shot. Now Maxlor turns the attention around. This is getting chaotic. Mickey's still running for his life. Flash forward, plus the ignite. Maxlor, one loss on two. How did he survive? How did he stay alive? Maxlor walks away.
Oh my goodness, what is the start to this game? That was absolutely chaotic. I talked about I was looking forward to seeing the mid lane, but I didn't mean the mid lane with everyone bumming it down and just having a ridiculous time. Almost getting first blood, but not quite. That's the important thing.
I am so surprised Maxwell survived. And take a look at his stats from week 1, Foxtrot. Kills plus assists at 15, 8.5.
Not
He
bad.
spent roughly half of his time within jungle proximity range of his laners. That's the 47.8, and it's pretty significant plus 2k, roughly gold.
Yes, he's had a really good performance, honestly, so far. And it's not just his performance, statistically, the quantifiable stuff we can talk about. It's also the qualifiable aspect of his game. Like we saw in that clip before when he was shot calling that level 1. Maxlor is not only getting it done on the scoreboard, but he's bringing something to his team that's making them all a lot better.
Yes, absolutely the case. And Misfits will have to use that skill to try and combat this very unique composition. One of the things I'm definitely seeing, Misfits have got a lot of tankiness on their side.
Yeah.
With the Ornn, the Mundo, the Trundle, the Braum. But then you look at Kayn, Camille, Heimer, Zoe, they have team fight damage, they have side lane pressure, they have AoE, poke. Every form of damage possible, Splyce have got it.
Yeah, it's a bit like the quality street of team comps. There's a little bit of everything in there, and maybe there's some things you don't quite like.
Here's the thing I've never thought of. I wonder how many people actually know what Quality Street are. Because I think
is that English
it's a pretty
as well?
British thing.
Oh, okay.
It's a pretty British
What about
swing.
heroes? Do you know what
I think
those
it's
are?
better. I think that might
is
be
that
better. Yeah, I think so.
So which one is the bounty and what's the Maltesers? That's the question.
Well, we'll find out as Nisqy has the help of Xerxes. Xerxes goes forward. That's a great stun from Senkux. Finds the targets. Teleports coming in now from the Misfit side. Xerxes goes down for first blood. It's Senkux that secures it. Nisqy will be donated a double kill to Senkux, who once again is stepping up.
And we said he had to have a better performance this week compared to last. And Kane, you believe it? Xerxes not stepping up, falling down, first blood going over to Misfits.
Oh man, unbelievable stuff. Such a
Totally
good
missed my
start.
pun because you're writing something down.
I did, unfortunately. I actually had Stats Team giving me an update in my ear, so I
Nice.
apologize about missing the joke.
Stats Team are great. I love them.
Say it again, because I'll give you a fresh ear.
I really am not going to repeat a low-level pun on that. Anyway, this one right here, a complete brawl, a complete melee that, oh my goodness.
Oh,
it
it's
was
amazing. If you can't
just
see the
so good, just absolutely ridiculous. Did you see how that all went? Oh, did you miss
fantastic. It was fantastic.
Did you see that one specific thing that happened that you'll never see ever again in your life? Wait,
Yeah.
you missed it? Oh my
Unbelievable.
goodness.
I mean, I don't know why people blink.
Incredible.
I don't know how people blink. The information I was being given by the Stats Team, by the way, Zoe's support has only ever been played once, everywhere else, ever. And it was in VCS at the beginning of this year, and it won the game.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for that update. You did mean
So somewhere in, is the VCS the Vietnam League?
That's
Somewhere in
correct.
Vietnam, there's a support player saying, don't you ruin my 100% win rate on Zoe support.
Well, we'll see if Kasing can keep that up. Splice after the double kill, after the just fantastic mechanical play. I think every time we've seen Senkux try to land that duet, the stun, he used it in the mid lane, used it in the jungle, he's hit the targets, and that's really just enabled the follow-up for the Misfit squad.
And that's what I love about seeing Irelia. Not only is she flashy and exciting to watch, but it feels like she's one of these champions in the meta right now where individual skill is paramount to this champion, and you can see it coming out of, like you say, the stuns and things like that. And that's partially why there is a 30 CS lead in that mid lane from Senkux over on Nisqy.
30 CS lead is monumental.
It's pretty blooming big, if I'm going to be tentative in that sense.
You can see what it equates to in gold. 1,200 gold up. That's most of Misfit's gold lead. And talking about gold leads, Fox, I got some more stats for you because you know how much I love them, right?
Yeah.
Gold difference at 15 from last week was plus 7,000. Kills at 15 minutes, 10. And Misfits spent 80% of their game time in a major lead after their 2 wins last week. That is a very impressive performance. And Mickey's going to survive the poke there. But yeah, Misfits off to another strong start.
Yeah, some pretty impressive stats there, and you're seeing why in this game, how they've been able to accrue such incredible stats. And even in the early game right now where, I mean, like you saw that small skirmish in the jungle, they just take little things and they absolutely run with it. And well, the gaze you're seeing on your screen right now, or you were seeing on your screen, Maxor has been a big reason. Oof, a nice block by Hansam. Look at that, he's only carrying his team by just being absolutely ridiculous at League of Legends, but he's also blocking out the Zoe Qs as well. What a nice guy.
Just really good teamwork. Mickey seems to be catching all of those bubbles. I think having the Unbreakable Shield makes it a lot easier, of course.
Yeah.
Makes him a big target. 4 teleports, by the way, on the side of the Misfits squad. Didn't necessarily call that out just yet. 2 on the side of Splice. It's Kobe and Odawamne that have theirs available. And Splice, now the tempo is slowed down. Now they have to try find some way to recover from the big deficit they were put into. And that 30 CS lead is now growing to 37. Senkux, his teleport's going to be available very soon. And he can already start looking to roam and impact side lanes if he wants to.
Yeah, and that's the thing with that Quadra TP on Misfit's side. That is not something you want to fall behind versus, because then whenever you go for a proactive play, it becomes incredibly difficult to actually be successful in that play, because suddenly you've got to worry about who's going to join the play, because if someone does join, you're probably going to lose. So a little bit scary, honestly, if you are Splice right here, the start to this game, but one lane that is going moderately well is that bot lane. Kobe and that Heimerdinger is able to keep up the CS onto Lucian. As far as that matchup goes, that's perfectly fine. If you can keep equal with the Lucian, considering how strong he is in lane,
yes,
I think he's totally happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And we'll keep our eyes on what Hansama can do. There's another fight coming into this mid lane. Xerxes, by the way, has access to his Umbral Trespass. Let's see if he decides to use it. Jumps inside. There's a flash away from Nisqy. He's actually going Misfits territory. Now with Kasing joining the fight, Maxwell's going to go low. Not going to die just yet. Umbral Trespass not going to be enough to take down Senkux. He manages to get one. Here comes Mickey. Senkux has a double before he's taken out. Senkux, you beauty, closing that out.
But that's still a 2v2, and if you are behind, you will absolutely take that. So Splyce are happy with that one. Huge props to Kasing for making that proactive roam there to enable Splyce to go for that play, and the Culling coming out from Hans Sommer in that bot lane. But that was a really sexy play, and Nisqy specifically, he wanted something like that. He was in a really rough spot, and as we're going to see here, it all starts with a pretty standard play, but look at Kasing roaming through from that bot lane already as this play starts. So what looks like a bit of an awkward play or a 2v2 that Splyce will not win is not a 2v2 for very long. And look how many flashes Kasing does here, just like in melee range, just to get his like passive W thingy off. Like, he does so many flashes just to try and get that extra damage. And in the end, a 2v2, but like I say, if you're behind and you can get a 2v2, you'll absolutely take it.
The Spell Thief for the passive more sparkles and that sort of like Foxfire style attack.
Exactly.
Managed to work out. But yeah, it's the roaming that really helped Impact. So it is 1 kill to Nisqy, 1 kill to Kasing. As you mentioned, Foxtrot, a little bit of an advantage, a little bit of something back for Splyce. As the Rift Scuttle has picked up, some fans really enthusiastic.
I wish my teammates were as enthusiastic about helping me get Scuttle as these fans.
The thing I'm trying to figure out, I can't tell if they were Splyce fans cheering, Misfits fans cheering the Scuttle, or they just hate the Scuttle Crab. That's one direction. We'll find out. As they're yelling both, actually. Thank you for the feedback, guys. That's awesome. All right, Xerxes, keeping an eye on him now. He's going to look, get himself towards that Rast. What do you think of Kayn? Kayn, we're 10 minutes in. I'm sure you played him. What do you make of Kayn as a champion?
Just as a chat, I think Kayn's one of these guys who he's very good at farming. And I like if you go blue Kayn because you just run around and delete people. That's not what we're going to see this game because this is not a Sodicky game. But in theory, he's quite a versatile champion. And one of these champions where if you can get a significant lead on him in the early game, or not even significant, sorry, a slight lead, you can turn it into something a bit more significant, and you just build that kind of War Enchant, Black Cleaver, and then it gives you a decent amount of damage, but also with the healing you get up through from the Red Kayn regen as well, you're actually a lot harder to kill than people think. So a very good kind of Bruiser-esque option that offers decent utility as well, and with some more individual impact going down than picking someone like Sejuani or these kind of boring champs.
Yeah, that makes sense. I really like that you call them boring champs as well, because I like
less interesting.
Less interesting. By the way, talking about that, we're about 12 minutes into the game, and Foxtrot, we have completely underserved the Welshman. After you ragged on Wales for a long time at the beginning of the game.
It's in my blood. I have Welsh cousins, I'm allowed to.
Alfari, my mum's Welsh. Alfari and Odo1 have been trading blows. They're even on CS. It's just that tank fight, the wet noodle fight. We need to see them teleporting in to join fights. Well, Alfari's is on cooldown, so Odo's got a small advantage here, which I think is why he went back to base. But as they start to get involved, who would you like to see move first and why?
I always feel like Ornn is better to move out than Mundo is because you do have that Ram Jam that you can cool down. And it's so good in these team fights. And I think, honestly, part of the reason why Alfari has used his teleport more of a... I don't want to say selfish because it's not, it's not that, it's a bit harsh to say that, but the fact that there are 4 TPs on his team means that he can probably be a bit more lenient with how he uses his TP, because he's not the sole equipped member. That's a really reverse way of saying
I get the point you're saying.
With TV.
You can be, you don't have to be as strict with teleport when so many people can teleport, and when your most fed members at 4 and 1.
Plus, it's a Cloud Dragon. Like, the most likely use of your TP will be into that bot side if you're a top laner, and do you really care that much about this Cloud Dragon? Honestly, probably not.
Well, listen, I'm going to bring us back to the Odo Omni point you talked about a little while ago, because, I'm a fan of what Odo has done, and
what is that picture?
Look, I'm a fan of Shad myself, right? And I couldn't get Shad onto the stream, so I wanted to talk about the struggles that some of the old dogs on Splyce have. Yeah. Odo lost a Euphoria bet, had to dress up as a dog, and you can see how Splyce are struggling as a team. They're behind in gold, they give up more towers than they secure, they're not playing this meta particularly well. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on this, old dogs and new tricks.
Well, as far as, the old dog here, Shad is probably older than some of the LCS players. He's almost 19.
Actually, that's true. So that's
he probably is older than a lot of the LCS players. I don't know how old Odo is, but either way, old dogs and new tricks. I don't think Odo's past his prime in that sense. I think that, honestly, he was a proper standout player when he was on HGK. I think him and Vizicachi were kind of these EU tops that people were just just really, really good. But Vizzy had a really weak performance earlier today, and Odo has not had a great one so far in the summer split. But I don't think that's really him. I think that's probably more his team. And
well, look, Alphari, by the way, is taking a lot of damage from this old dog top laner.
Yes.
He's got the sadism ticking away. Sleepy Trouble Bubble is dodged away from, and Alphari just regens all of the damage.
Yep.
That's been taken thanks to that Spirit Visage.
I mean, they already got that bot side tower, so the only reason you'd ever want to go into Mundo's domain, especially a Mundo that has literally rushed Spirit Visage, good luck killing that geezer, by the way, is because you actually want to do a proper old lane swap, not because you're looking to do anything to Alphari specifically. So it's a waste of time, but you can go ahead and do it.
Gonna interrupt him, get that Reaping Slash down. If nothing else, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's annoying to stop the recall. Put him on tilt.
Advantage Splice because they wasted 4 more seconds for Alphari. And look, the map's been split.
But look at mid lane as well, because you did get that Rift Herald. Maxwell did get that, like I mentioned. You don't really care about the Cloud Dragon, and Maxwell had the perfect response by, okay, you get Cloud, I'll get Herald. And it's basically that trading a tower for the Cloud Dragon, which I think most teams will be happy with, especially since it's that first mid tower. So they just went down mid lane, and in the end that was like 2 towers for 2. The outer towers for Splice, and then one mid tower and 1 bot lane tower as well for Misfits. And honestly, that's a good trade for Misfits.
The thing is, this is actually a good start for Splice as well. Not only are they trading objectives, they're pretty much even. It's 1,000 gold at 16 minutes, which is not that sizable. Also, Misfits, we looked at the stats earlier. Their gold difference at 15 from last week was plus 7,000 gold. So this is a significantly slower early game, despite the fact that Irelia got pretty fed pretty early on.
Yeah.
And that's a good sign for Splice as well, but it's a very unique team composition going into the mid game. So now we get to see a traditional team comp, old school meta versus new meta, and who's going to perform better.
Yeah, talking of old school, if we do think back on Misfits, their performance that they've had out of the early summer split was a bit more reminiscent of the team we saw at Worlds last year. They've been quite soul-crushing in the first few games, I would say, for the teams they played against. I think they probably wish they were slightly more soul-crushing, but in a different way at Worlds, considering they were playing the Koreans. Couldn't quite crush that soul down as much as they wanted to.
Oh, Kobe! He stepped way too far forward. Misfits are just waiting in the wings. Hansama gets his first kill of the fight there, Foxtrot, and here comes Odoamne! Call of the Forge God comes down, but there's simply no damage to follow up. Odoamne, he gets taken down, donated to the Misfits kill count. Plus 2,000 gold for Misfits, and they're on the inner turret.
We were talking about those poor stats from Odoamne. I mean, if you get players like that where you don't really have a team, is that really Odoamne, or is that the fact that Splice are not able to fight the Misfits squad? But either way, a bit of miscommunication. Odoamne, I mean, if your team isn't able to go for that play, someone has to say to him, mate, don't teleport into the middle of the enemy team. We ain't fighting this one. And it's exactly what he does. He goes down, and another tower in the pocket of Misfits.
Yeah, really nicely done. Take a look at Kobe and Kasing. Step forward into Mickey and Max Law. That is not a juicy M&M combo that you want to be going for.
It absolutely is nothing of the sort, Trevor. You do not want to be walking anywhere near anything of this, and Kobe just goes down straight away. And from that, you can pretty much just say what's going to happen for the rest of the fight. I mean, you can't win in a situation when you're behind as a team, when you've also lost one of your team members. Not going to happen, not going to end too well if you're Splice. But if you're Misfits, hey, we'll take that absolutely any day of the week.
Exactly. Gets Hansama on the board, gets another assist for Senkux. Maxwell, by the way, still 100% kill participation.
Yeah.
Really has been the tip of the spear for Misfits this split.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been proper solid, like we mentioned before, and not just in the way that he does these physical plays that we can watch, but we can't hear his comms, but I'm pretty sure he's, from what we have seen, and I am looking over him right now, and he's gabbering away over there as well. He doesn't shut up. He keeps telling his team what to do, and that in itself is an invaluable skill, and the fact that you can get such a high-performing teammate like that in both realms is really beneficial.
And you know what I've learned? You know, you talked about the fact Maxwell doesn't shut up. You know, neither do you, neither do Medic. You English blokes just gabba, non-stop.
That's why you brought me here. So is that a complaint or what? Because
I'm just making sure you're self-aware enough to
I'm absolutely self-aware, mate. I put it in my bio, and I said it at the beginning when we came in. I'm here to have fun and chat.
There we go.
Something that begins with S and ends in hits, and I'm
for the
ready to do it.
For the Star Wars fans, chat banter pudu. is how we do that. Another one before your time, apparently.
I won't make you feel older than I already have today, Trevor, mate. So I'm going to nod and say, like, that's exactly what I was thinking, buddy.
Cheers. Thank you, Foxtrot. Listen, it's 20 minutes in. Misfits, their gold lead is now 3,000. The vision is being set up around Baron. And with the Blade of the Rune King, with Senkux, with Trundle,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they fancy themselves a shot at an early Baron.
I mean, I would say absolutely, considering the Baron has been significantly nerfed and it is a lot easier to go for. And we've seen so many of these early Barons, the 21-minute Baron being that special one that we've seen so much in the EU LCS. And when you're this far ahead, 4K gold may not seem like much, but Misfits is a team that you give an inch and they take a mile. So we absolutely could see Baron on the cards soon, and they're prepping Vision for it, which could be a tell to what they're looking to do.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. Of course, Call of the Forge God will go up a significant amount of value once we get into that pit. I'm looking at gold to spend. 1,000 for Maxlaw, 1,500 for Senkux, around 1.8 or so for Hans Sama. So a lot of money in the pockets to complete. It'll be a Black Cleaver for Hans Sama completed, and I think once they've spent that gold, that's when you set up again to fight.
And this is a bit problematic though for Xerxes. If you're behind and you're going for this more aggressive build when he's got the components for his Black Cleaver, but it's not quite complete. Playing behind when you are a tank champion is one thing. Playing behind when you've got much more offensive stats in that Warrior Enchant and soon to be Black Cleaver is another thing, and it's pretty blooming hard to do. So we'll see whether or not Xerxes is able to have the impact that he's wanting to have as this game goes on. But it's going to be a bit tricky for him.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Misfits continue to play the Vision game, and setting themselves up as really one of the best performing teams in the opening weeks. I think only G2 have looked sort of as dominant, albeit maybe even less so than what Misfits have shown in 3 days of competition.
They've looked ridiculously different, though. That's what's really interesting. What I'm really loving about this summer split so far is G2 have done a lot of that. I don't want to call it funneling comp, because I don't want to use the word fun when I say it, so I'm going to call it the noodling comp. Let's get rid of the fun part of it, because it certainly ain't fun to watch. But they've done that really well, but Misfits have done nothing of the sort. They've played a completely different style, honestly an old style, like a spring split style to a certain extent. So when these two teams play, the G2 Misfits, by the way, that is going to be a hyper-tech game to watch.
Very, very exciting stuff. A few weeks away, though.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of time, I think.
The script has been written.
It has indeed.
Although my version of the script, can I just complain about it, is wrong because my predictions have been pretty off. So whatever version I got sent is rubbish.
Well, we sent that way intentionally. We wanted you to read the incorrect one. You know, so we could have you on the show.
I've still got a lodge of complaint with that and the fact there's no kettle in the hotel.
Hit us up on support. We have a great support team.
You do have a great support.
If you draw a picture, they'll get you some RP. We've been in this little bit of a stalemate as Misfits are just content. They've got 4 towers down. They're pushing Splyce further and further back, buying time to set up a fight. And Nissy's going to use that hook shot to get over the wall. But it really just feels like the tension is building around Baron. And when Misfits decide to go for it, that's really when the next passage of play is going to work out. And you can see all the vision that was set up earlier. It's allowing Misfits to just kind of play a little bit on the edge, play into Splyce's hands, and Splyce don't have a great answer without Ornn. It's Ornn's engage. That is going to be the tool that can unlock team fights.
Absolutely, and that's the thing is when you fall behind, you can't really play your style of game. You kind of have to play into the enemy's style, and like we were seeing there, Splyce can't really split push, and Misfits try to punish.
Oh, let's take a look. Xerxes going to dash away from the flawless duet. The Hextech ultimatum comes down. That's a kill onto Maxlaw. Now Senkux gets dashed out of the Umbral chest pass. He manages to take down Xerxes. He's running low. 250 HP, looking for Nisqy. Nisqy's taken out by Alphari, and with a little bit of a heal and some HP back for Senkux, the rest of the fight continues. Alphari's tanking everybody.
What do you do against that?
Throw a cleaver to the face of Kasing. Turns his attention to Kobe, takes him down for the triple kill. The burning agony, as well as the masochism goes out, as well as the clock comes down. Misfit find themselves a bunch of kills. Finally, somebody stops the Welsh. Alphari goes down, and Senkux with a beautiful duet. He manages to lock down Odo, get the ace, and Misfits destroy Splyce.
Alphari's playing this game with cheat mode enabled, just physically can't die. Well, apart from the fact he did die, but we'll ignore that part. This is the thing. Camille wants to go for that split push, but can't really do it because Misfits are too strong in that 1v1 and also when you get the gank. But Maxlor died so fast here. This was a really, really nice pickup and a great start to the fight. But I want you to keep your eyes on Mikyx here because he has a really good Unbreakable to completely block that Ornn ulti, which would have honestly turned that fight much more in Splyce's favor, especially considering Senkux most likely would have died here. Who is the person that mops up this fight? But I mean, look at Alvari, like, what did you do against this guy? Yeah, literally, what's the counterplay? There isn't much, honestly.
There can't be. And you know, like, Misfits just picked the right time, despite the fact that Splyce actually started that fight. I do with a small faceplant into the tower just at the end. But again, Senkux showing some mastery of this champion.
Yeah.
Throws up the duet, just flawless stun as we've seen time and time and time again. Get the dragon to boot as well, so an Ocean, and look at that teamfight damage.
How is Mundo having the highest fight at that damage? That is ridiculous, or close to it. I mean, that is just Mundo in a nutshell right there, and why he's so darn hard to play versus. But I like you mentioning Senkux having that good performance because, hey, if we were to have a big criticism of Misfits in that spring split, had a very thoroughly disappointing performance in the split as a team. Senkux, honestly, was probably the center of that criticism.
He was a talking point.
Yeah,
all
absolute
split line. And actual,
yeah.
I mean, Senkux has been a talking point in the mid lane for a while. You know, there's certain champions that it really shines on. But coming into summer, he's just stepping into his own and seems to be carving out a bit of a niche in terms of the performance.
And that's what you want, you know, if you're Misfits, you want to have that turnaround performance from your underperforming mid laner, and especially when mid lane is probably the most important role, I would say, in League of Legends, or at least it certainly can be. To have Senkux whipping out these performances is very good news if you're a Misfits fan. Not that he's the only one doing it, and that's what's so bloody scary if you're scouting them out. Literally everyone is a huge threat on Misfits right now, but still, Senkux, mate, thumbs up from me.
Yeah, you go back to picks and bans. Ezreal and Draven found themselves in the ban pool. Irelia did not. Irelia has been let through several times today, in fact. I remember Vedius talking about how he felt we've seen it a lot, and maybe the teams feel there's counters to Irelia. Maybe Camille was the
I'd love that they could. I'd love for them to show us that one day.
There we go.
Whatever their counters they think they are, but yeah, I mean, obviously teams when they go into the draft have certain ideas of what they want to do, and we can sit here and nitpick and say, oh, that's so silly, what are you doing that for? But they have an idea. They're way better at drafting than we are, else they wouldn't be doing it. And
exactly.
They must have an idea. They haven't been able to execute it, but it's not just the draft.
And
but
also,
here is Baron, though.
It's going to take us back to the teams. Foxtrot, we talked about Splyce as a team being weaker in the early game. We talked about maybe the play style not adapting to the meta.
Right.
And we're in a scenario where it seems to be coming true again. All right, Baron is down to 6k HP. Xerxes in region with Smite as well as Flash available to him. Odo has joined the engage, and look at this, Baron has regen. Okay, so Shadow Step in and out. Baron has at least been interrupted, but Splyce, they're still in a hole. They're 6k down. They're falling all the way back. They've only got 2 outer towers left. But it feels like it's a slow strangulation of Splyce off the game.
Yeah, and sometimes that's how you have to play the game, because you can't just full-on force things. You can't just absolutely just push it into the enemy team, because sometimes games are a bit slow in that sense. And sometimes, honestly, in this situation specifically, for example, if Misfits went for that play, then they would struggle. You know, they would go for the Baron, and if Splyce came in, that would be bad news for them. So Misfits are instead playing it a bit more patiently, not letting that happen, not giving the mistake over to Splyce, because that would be the easiest way to lose this game.
Yeah, the Scuttle Crab is a really good pickup for Splyce, just to give a little bit more information, just a little bit more time. Managed to stall things out. Now, let's talk late game. Foxtrot, I'm going to ask you to put your EULCX Colorcaster hat on. Look into your crystal ball. Yeah, I don't know where this is going to go either, but I'm going to try it anyway, mate.
I'm waiting.
What do you think of Splyce's late game?
That's a good question, Trevor. Can I phone a friend?
Later you can. Okay, but like reason it out with me. I mean,
so
like Camille, I like Ornn.
Yeah. No, I think the problem I have is I don't think that versus Quadra TP, it's going to play out the way they want it to play out. I think that Camille's effectiveness this game, especially, I mean, you're talking about late game, let's assume that it gets so late that the teams are absolutely equal. There is definitely something that can happen here if Splyce play their cards correctly, but it's so difficult, for example, for Odoamne to have that team fight against the Unbreakable of Braum. It's very difficult for Camille. Oh, okay, Kasing's dead.
Well, didn't quite see how that was set up, but Kasing got cold.
Yes.
It was that simple.
That's just sometimes how it goes. And of course, after that, you know what's going to happen now?
Le Baron is the
Baron.
objective. All right, let's take a look. It's 5v4. Call of the Forge God is available. Teleport's coming in for Kabi to the mid lane. So there is a potential for something magical, but Foxtrot, it's going to need to be magic.
Absolute magic, but we've seen it once already today on the LCS. Can we see it again?
I've seen it a couple times, I think. Gilius and Cold with Baron steals earlier.
Yeah.
Xerxes going to jump away, gets caught by the Vanguard's Edge as well as the Duet. Gets caught as well by Mickey's Glacial Fissure. Xerxes been pushed away from the pit, but Odo and Kabi have not. Call of the Forge God is summoned and is cancelled. Mickey caught it. Senkux goes gold and a dash over the pit for Hans Summer. He flashes to safety. Niski's trying to run him down with a tactical sweep to the face and a precision protocol. He takes him down. Maxlaw gets a chomp in reply. 3,000 HP on Baron. Xerxes with flash, with smite, and Splice end the fight.
Splice should be happy with that one, a 1-for-1 and delaying the Baron. It's not over yet though.
All right, Odo Amnet jumps in. There's Kasing. He's come back to play. That's a stun connecting onto Senkux. He's forced to run for his life. Splice in a gold deficit start to turn the fight around. That's a drowsy Mickey. Body blocks in play for Alfari, who is regenning, and Xerxes comes through the wall with that shadow step. Splice will secure the third tower of the game. That's a flash over the wall from Xerxes. He needs to get away with his life, and the tower finally falls.
Coming in.
Teleport from, I don't know who, Senkux with Guardian Angel. He's looking for a target to Blade Surge onto. No ultimate yet. The Vanguard's Edge will just become available. Throws it out. Manages to get the dashes. Come on, that's one. That's two. Looking for another. Manages to chunk down Xerxes, who shadow steps over the wall. You cannot escape Senkux. Now Alfari and Hans Summer are running down Splice. I believed. I bought into the hype, and I was crushed because Misfits are dumpstering Splice. Senkux will take some damage here from Odo. And while Niski's come to play, hook shot onto the wall. I didn't know if he had the range. Manages to pop the Guardian Angel. Now Misfits need to complete a teleport from Niski. Mickey, the fight has been going so long. Glacial Fissure has come off cooldown, and it has been used. Foxtrot, you will get a turn to talk. And not right now. Odo, Wamne, and Niski. Now they're jumping onto Mickey. He's locked inside the baby cage, and he's sent packing. 4 members of Misfit are inside the pit, looking to secure Baron, and they do. Now Odo's the target. He's set ablaze by the ardent dash of Hans Summer, trying to run him down. Niski's caught off from the rest of the team. A dash forward into the Light Slinger, plus the Piercing Light. Just enough damage to take down Odo Wamne, and Niski finds himself on the wrong side of the rift. He's trying to complete the teleport, and the man that Niski was chasing to start the play was Senkux, and Senkux is making his way up. Will he be able to get the final kill? It looks like Hans Summer will have nothing to say about it. Instead, Senkux gets it. Eventually, the fight ends. Somebody get me an oxygen tank.
So who's the MVP of that fight? Would you say it's Hans Summer, Senkux, or your lungs, Quickshot?
My lungs, buddy. But here's a much more impressive challenge.
Yeah.
Analyze that,
Oh my
buddy.
goodness. Well, this is the problem of playing versus so many TPs. Even when Splice get the advantage and it looks like good things are happening for them, they get flanked by Senkux on the TP, then Hans Summer on the TP, and later on we'll see Mickey X as well joining the fray. But Senkux, the individual performance of this guy, we've seen it, we talked about it. He did really well setting up those stuns, really well setting up his ultimate as well. And to be honest, all I was hoping for when I was watching this play was someone on Misfits call them to take the bloody Baron. And as this is happening in the top side, that's exactly what's going down in that Baron pit. And thank goodness, this brawl that was happening was fun to watch. But if we want this game to, if Misfits want this game to come to a close at some point today, they're going to have to take that Baron. They got the Baron, and now we will see what they can do with it.
We're going to find out. I actually think the tiredness was delayed. It didn't quite hit me until after the fight. But Misfits, exactly.
It's the Mundo ulti.
The Baron in a couple of lanes. Alfari now the only one to teleport available. And here's Senkux. Now Vanguard's Edge is available, and look, there's support coming from the rest of the squad. Just south of their position. And Splice, they're in an even bigger hole. 10k gold down. Baron empowered. Minions in multiple lanes. And it just looks like Misfits have got all the tools they need to finish this out.
Absolutely. Up until that Baron went down, I felt like Splice were playing it pretty well, honestly, to keep Misfits from taking it away and keep themselves in this game. But at this point here, when you're staring down the barrel of a Baron, well, I can't say banner anymore, that's gone, but a Baron cannon, it's going to be tricky, but there's no Braum to stop the ulti this time.
Oh, there's not. 4-on-2, and this will be a dead Senkux. This is a misplay from Misfits. However, can they turn it around? Here's the support for Misfits. They're making their way in. Even in a numbers deficit, the gold lead helps them out. With the kill onto Odoamne, trading it for Senkux. That's a 1-for-1. Baron-empowered minions will help them out, taking down the tower, and Splyce without Odo's Ornn. They're in trouble defending their base.
It's going to be tricky, and this is, even though this was a good setup from Splyce, you get the early kill onto Senkux, it's, at this point, it's so difficult to punish Misfits, because even when you can get good things happening, it doesn't really work out, it doesn't translate to anything, and like you say, they do lose Odoamne here, and because he is their primary engage, how do you now break this siege? It becomes incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it really does, and there's just this... They're too far ahead.
Yeah.
Misfits have just got this gigantic lead. They're playing really well together as a team. They've got 2 inhibitors down, and they're going to get away, so that's a very good Baron power play.
Not too bad at all, considering this game was looking kind of stalemate-y-ish.
Yes.
It was a 4K gold lead when Misfits first went for that Baron play, and this is the play that happened in the top side once again, where Senkux and Alphari, they're going for this kind of split play, but Splyce call their bluff and actually engage on the fight. And even though Senkux has played very well this game, you can't win a 2v4. It's really not going to happen, but you're so far behind that this fight takes so long. And it's really easy for Misfits to get back into this one. And the implications of this team fight, like I mentioned before, if you lose your engage, it's hard to break a siege as the game goes on. And Senkux, Misfits losing 1 carry isn't a huge deal when you've still got Hans Sama, and dare I say, you've got Alphari on Mundo as well.
Yeah, I mean, got everything. Thornmail, Warmogs, Spirit Visage, Sunfire Cape. There's not much more you can put on Mundo's chest as far as itemization is concerned.
Yes, he's pretty happy. He's pretty happy in that spot,
just
honestly.
for interest's sake, 4,371 hit points.
Okay.
236 armor, and a measly 133 magic resist. I think he's letting the side down. But then again, Kobbe and Kasing are not exactly the scariest magic damage dealers to him right now.
No, it's. I think he's pretty sorted as far as being tanky. I think we've established that one.
Yes, we have.
If Alphari is going to match Soaz's level of tankiness, then he'll run at the enemy team and not auto-attack and still kill people. But either way, I think he's still doing his job just fine, even if he's not been able to do that yet.
I tell you what, anybody who drafted Senkux into their fantasy league this year is making bank with his performance. He's 8-2-6, and definitely going to be creating more questions for us to answer as he's stepping up in the summer split. Misfits, by the way, Super's in the top and the middle. So Foxy, they're looking just to siege up. The Ornn Horn has already fizzled. Mickey with a very good Unbreakable. One of the reasons that you really like Braum into this pick, and yeah, the siege continues.
You have, honestly, you can't play Ornn into Braum really in a situation like this. It's so difficult. We've seen that multiple times this game, where the Braum Unbreakable stops that Ornn Horn. It's so difficult, and here we go. Misfits are going for the end here.
All right, take a look at this. Odo actually eats a half to 3/4 channel culling. Doesn't do too much damage, but it allows Misfits to break open the final inhibitor. I'm trying to keep my eyes on which will be the first victim. Where will Senkux go? Odo sitting on the front line, and the rest of Splyce looking to engage. Call of the Forge God still on cooldown, 25% of the timer remaining. A dash backwards as Odo's trying to get that rupture up. Now Xerxes jumps back in with the Reaping Slash. He's got an Umbral Trespass, but who the hell do you want to jump onto? It's chunked down to 50% HP. Niski's gone in, locks down Hans Sama, but he's forced to flash away. Call of the Forge God comes out and manages to get multi-man knockup, but there's just not enough damage. Umbral Trespass buys some time. That's a great Reaping Slash. Gets a 3-man knockup, but Splyce are just too far behind. They don't have the damage. They don't have the armor. They do not have a chance in these fights, and Misfits are killing them where they stand. Not a single Splyce structure remains. Kasing and Kobbe watch their Nexus go down, and Misfits remain undefeated in summer.
Not a bad team fight effort from Splyce at the end there, but when you're that far behind, it's ridiculously hard to get anything out of any form of team fight. And Misfits, holy moly, these guys are looking like the real deal, Trevor.
Yes, absolutely the case. And like, you see that final fight, it actually leaves me with a bitter taste in my mouth. Because I go, I wish I had seen that fight 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Before the Baron, before the stall. but it didn't happen, and Misfits continue their incredibly impressive run, and I'm going to go out there with a bold statement that they are the best-looking team in Europe in the 3 games that I've seen thus far.
I think that that's a pretty fair statement. The only one that could challenge them, really, in my opinion, has to be G2. But I think Misfits have played really well, and yeah, get a bit of a bro hug for the British boys over there at the end.
I really like seeing the sportsmanship, of course.
Yeah.
Seeing Senkux and Kabe starting it and then carrying on down the line, but like you said, G2 and Misfits, the 2 most impressive looking teams across the games that they have played.
Yeah.
And the limited number that we've seen.
But I also do want to give a little bit of commiserations and positivity over to Splyce. Even though they're a 0-3 team right now, it feels like they've been a little bit boned by the schedule. They've played G2 Misfits, and their other game was against... on the spot here, Trevor?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I have to double check.
How could you not,
shocking.
How could you not remember that? Because I totally do remember that, and I'm hiding the answer from you just to make you feel silly, and not because I also forgot.
Well, Splyce lost to G2 Vitality and now
right.
Misfits.
So that's
yes,
arguably the 3 best teams in the LCS right now. So yeah, the fact that they're 0-3 might seem terrible on paper, and it's probably not great, but they are a victim of the schedule, so still could be some good things to come.
And there's time to bounce back, right?
Absolutely.
18 games is what teams play in the season, and if everybody remembers how crazy our spring split was, it came down to the very last day of games before people were locked in. So it is a long split, but taking a look at the stage right now, Maxlore and the Moose, Hussein Moosvi having a chat with the team, and it's just a great performance. It feels like everything is clicking, and it feels like Misfits have just got a recipe that works. And in the off season, in between spring and summer, there was a lot of people calling for some heads. I was surprised nothing changed, and now I'm sitting with my foot in my mouth.
Are you? You're standing, and there's no foot in your mouth.
Yeah, it won't get there. We actually have a replay, the little bit of a stutter there. Misfits getting the ace eventually.
Right.
Do you remember at which point in the fight this was?
Eventually is actually the pure word for this entire game, really. A lot of things did happen eventually. And this was the one where Maxwell dies really blooming fast, and we're thinking, oh, okay, all right then, Splyce, let's see what you got. But then obviously things happened the way they always happen in this game, and here comes Misfits able to turn this fight around. And this really was the big turn point of this one, where this is where we established that Alphari essentially couldn't die. And it was just a bit sad, honestly. I mean, we saw so many times this game on getting denied by Braum. It happened this fight as well, and Senkux getting some mop-up as well. Just honestly, this fight just encapsulated the entire game, honestly, for me, where Splyce were trying and almost succeeding, but just weren't quite able to make it happen versus Misfits.
No, and that mid game between 20 and 30 minutes, I think Misfits played very safe. They didn't put themselves in a position where they could potentially get caught out.
It didn't look like they were going to throw at any point.
No.
They absolutely could have done.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, but they absolutely did not. Which having that kind of control is, it's not just reassuring if you're a Misfits fan to see them win, it's also reassuring to see that the style in which they do so.
Yes, exactly. The calling, the communication.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So Misfits 3-0. They sit at the top of the table alongside G2 Esports. And for you guys at home, remember to give us your pick for player of the game. Head over to Twitter at LOL Esports. You can choose between Alphari, Senkux, or Hans Summer.
Where's your lungs? Are they not in this?
It's really
It should be in there.
It has to be a fair fight, all right? I'm giving the boys a chance.
Yeah, they will win hands
giving
down.
the boys a chance. I won't cut you off this time. So who would you vote for? Alphari,
not your lungs.
Senkux, Hans Summer?
If I can't vote for lungs. I would say, honestly, I'm going to give it to Alphari. Out of those three, I think Alphari gets it.
That is very, very fair. While you guys are heading over to Twitter to vote, just an update. That post-game lobby will be coming in just a few minutes. This geezer will be heading over to join Dracos, and Maxlaw will be joining as well for some good old British bants. But before that, and I need to buy you some time to change sets, let's head over to talk to Pyra, who's sitting by with Senkux and Hans Summer.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Senkux and, of course, by Mikyx. You guys have started off with 3-0, undefeated so far in the summer split. And it seems so different than what happened in spring when you were splitting week to week. Senkux, what's changed from the spring split?
Honestly, I don't think that much has changed. I mean, the meta has changed a lot, and that makes us a bit easier for us to close out the games, because even in spring, we will get ahead every single game. I mean, I don't know, I think we play a lot better on stage than we did the last split compared to our scrim results, and I think it's really showing, even though today's game wasn't as good as some of the others.
That's fair enough. Now, Mickey, over to you. Just to elaborate a little bit on what Senkux is saying, What kind of things have you guys like worked on in between the split that's led to these results you've seen so far?
We've been like mostly working on consistency and comms. Especially like for me, my comms were really bad last split, so I'm trying to work on that for this split, and I think it's been getting better, but there's still a long way to go.
Well, there's always something to improve on, and like you were saying, Sencooks, there was definitely still some mistakes you had noticed yourself in this game. What in particular weren't you satisfied about?
I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, just the pace of the game should have been a bit faster, in my opinion, in terms of what happened early on, because it was a bit of a fiesta around the mid lane for a long while, and I was getting really fed, but we didn't really use the lead in the completely right way. So.
Fair enough. When things stall out, it can be a little bit frustrating. How do you guys kind of course correct and realize, no, we need to be like forcing fights, we need to be forcing objectives right now? How do you flip that switch when it seems like you're kind of just back and forthing with no one getting an objective?
I mean, in the moment on stage, it's usually a bit harder, but I would say it just comes down to like experience and knowledge about the game. Like sometimes you have to wait a bit, and other times you just have to pull the trigger. And usually we're good at pulling the trigger, and sometimes the spring split a bit too much, and that's also why it went too bad sometimes. And yeah, today it was just a bit shaky.
Fair enough. Now, you still came away with the win here, and I know that Misfits as an organization spent a lot of time and spoke very publicly about how they invested a lot into you guys' infrastructure, extra coaching staff, things like that. Mickey, have you noticed that your prep has actually become a little easier with the additional resources you have at your disposal?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think the prep is much more in-depth, or like even just for me personally, I think I've had a lot of help from all the coaching stuff. So I think everything just went up in terms of infrastructure and how we prepare for matches.
Well, it's good to hear, certainly. Now, I want to touch back on the meta. As you pointed out, Sencooks, there's a lot of different kind of things that people can do right now. You yourself got to take a crack at the Aurelia. Do you personally enjoy the way the meta is right now with so many possibilities?
I mean, for mid lane, it's way more enjoyable. There's like Yasuo, Aurelia. But, I mean, I know a lot of bot laners are perma-whining on Twitter, so I mean, I don't know. I think it's different for the people you ask.
So you got no complaints. Okay, Mickey, how about you? I mean, you guys got Pyke. What about anything else?
Well, I think it's pretty fun that you can play almost anything. I got to play Gragas last week, so that was pretty fun. And I don't know, I think it's just nice to get like some new champs in bot lane instead of only AD carries.
Shaking things up a little bit. Now, do you think that the way the meta is right now is actually helping your guys' team in addition to the way that you've changed up your prep and the way that you've improved over the split?
Wait, can you repeat?
Sorry?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, do you think the meta is actually helping you guys as well, or do you think you've just managed to adapt to it better?
I mean, some parts definitely. Like it's mainly like it's kind of the meta, and kind of the teams are a bit more established now and like play together for a while. But last split there was a lot of like 60-minute games, so I mean it helps a bit in terms of that, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. And for you, Mickey, now you've kind of seen several iterations of change throughout the time that you've been on this roster, and so Sencooks has kind of settled in a little bit better. Do you feel like the team overall has just played like more cohesively since the spring?
Yeah, I think for sure. Last split we kind of didn't play as a team. It was mostly like just individuals. Like everyone was like just laning, and then if we won lane really hard, then maybe won a game. But I think we're really bad at playing together as a team. So I think that improved a lot for the split.
Okay, now I know that there's been some big talk because you guys are 3-0 right now, and you're tempering a little bit on expectations because you still think there's a lot to work on. Do you guys think that you are currently the best team in Europe, and why?
Yeah, definitely.
I like it. Hesitate for a second, but we get there in the end.
No hesitation, definitely.
Okay, so G2 better watch their back. Thank you guys for joining me. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
We're going to send it off to the post-game lobby. Take it away.